Who's ready for doomsday? I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking doomsday preppers, preparing for disaster, stuff like that. It's for all those crazies you see on TV. But natural disasters is a very serious thing. Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana alone cost $200 billion in property damages. There were 1,580 people reported dead, and 22 million tons of debris flying around during Hurricane Katrina, and that's in just one state, the state of Louisiana. This information was provided by marshmission.com. You can look it up. I think I have it on the handouts I've given you there. On those handouts, it's just a few friendly tips, different stuff you can keep around your house, household items, in order to help you prepare for natural disasters, stuff like that. A lot of the stuff people suffered through Katrina, loss of homes, loss of family members, contact with other people, pets, stuff like that. A lot of this stuff can be prevented. Not everything, mind you. Natural disasters are a pretty big deal and cause a lot of destruction, but a lot of this stuff can be prevented. Today I'm going to show you information on preparing for natural disasters, survival gear, and survival techniques. First, let's look at natural disaster planning. Right? You're going to want to educate yourself, like on the natural disasters that recur in your area. For instance, in Texas, you're subject to flooding if you live on the coast of Texas, tornadoes if you live in the center of Texas up towards Oklahoma, Florida, Louisiana areas, suffer from hurricanes, typhoons, stuff of that nature. Proper planning, you want to plan appropriately, make sure you have a small food stash, nothing extreme like you'll see on a lot of the doomsday prepper shows. People will stash like years worth of food, and that's not necessary. For a normal household, like a week's worth of food should be fine. Like during a natural disaster, right before it comes on, a lot of people rush to Walmart and buy out all the bottled water, but you'll already have like a week's stash. All right, now let's have a look at, now that we've talked about natural disaster planning, let's have a look at survival gear and equipment. Something a lot of people forget about is fireproof, waterproof safes. Keep all your important documents, and also backup hard drives. You'll want to back up all the information you have on your computer, probably put it in the safe, and that's one of the first things you want to grab on the way out. That way you have copies of your W-2s, your budgets, access to all the information you would have from normal society during these disasters. Camelbacks. Being military, we're all familiar with camelbacks. It's good to have one around the house. Like during an emergency, you're rushing around. The first thing on your mind probably isn't, grab a bottle of water because you're going to get dehydrated. Like run around doing all this different stuff, trying to prepare. Camelback is an easy way to keep water supply with you. That way you don't have to worry about it. You're going to need a lantern, flashlight, something of that nature, candles, just something to provide light during the hours of darkness should you lose power in your area. Solar cells are really popular nowadays, photovoltaic cells. You can purchase them at Walmart and stuff like that. They have them for cell phones, keep your cell phone charged. So that way you can still access information on the outside during a disaster. Right. And last but not least, games. You want to make sure you have some form of entertainment with you. You don't know how long a hurricane, tornado could last, flooding, damage. It could last for quite some time. So you want to make sure to keep your mind active, keep your mind off of what's going on the outside. All right. Now that we've discussed survival gear and equipment, let's move on to survival techniques. I put these in order of which you'll need them. Let's say you're out in the wilderness somewhere, or forced out into the wilderness because the city is flooded or something like that. Making a fire. There's a lot of different techniques to make a fire. The saying goes, there's more than one way to skin a cat. The technique I would advise is flint and steel. It's the simplest. There's different ways to build the fire as well. There's log cabin style. There's tent teepee style. There's different styles to actually stack your wood in order for it to be productive. Next, you're going to want to purify water, which is why we've decided to make the fire. Like, fire is very important because it provides warmth, light during the hours of darkness, so on and so forth. But the most important function is probably purifying water. There's a lot of different ways to purify water as well. There's the iodine tablets, bleach. There's life straws now you can get. They're about $20 at Walmart, something like that, where you can drink straight from a water source. But since those things, we don't carry around life straws all the time, you're probably going to want to boil water in order to purify it. That way you have something to drink, water source. Next would be making a shelter for you to stay in. Like, there's a lot of caves in this area around Lake Amistad, stuff like that. Cliff areas where you can hide out in, but you don't know what's in those caves. There could be wild animals in there, or wild animals could come in there during the night, and you don't want wild animals sneaking around where you're going to be sleeping. So the simplest form of shelter is called a lean-to. You just find a smooth-facing wall. We have a lot of cliffs around here, around Lake Amistad. You just get a bunch of substantial logs and prop them up against the wall, and that provides you shelter from the wind, rain, etc. Next, you're going to want to make a snare or a deadfall trap. This is to catch your food supply. Deadfall traps are pretty simple. You just dig a hole in the ground and cover it up, and animals will fall in there, and you can catch that, have it to eat, cook it over your fire, or a snare. Snares can be as simple as getting a box and a stick and a piece of string, and put some bait underneath the box. Animal crawls in there, you pull the string, you've got yourself an animal. All right, and most importantly is the will to survive. During natural disasters, a lot of people around you will be panicking, not knowing what to do, or the first thing on how to prepare for a disaster. So you just need to have the will to survive and lead others during states of emergency. In conclusion, survival skills are perishable. You need to stay up to date with fire escape routes, preparing food, having food set aside, knowing how to build a fire, stuff like that. They're perishable skills, so you have to practice. I'm not going to say like every day or anything like that, like on the TV shows, but like a couple times a year, a couple times every other month, something like that, just to stay proficient. Today I talked about natural disasters, natural disaster planning, survival gear, and survival techniques. Remember, life happens. You can do what you want with the handouts and the information I've given you, but hopefully today I've talked about something that'll help you out. I'd like to close with this. It's a quote from Louis Pasteur. Luck favors the prepared mind. The greatest survival tool at your disposal is going to be your mind. All right. Thank you for your patience.